In recent years, we've seen a shift in gaming. A shift towards streamlined experiences, diluted to appeal to the largest audience possible. We've had to get our fill of focused niche titles from the indie sector, and despite the fond memories I have with them, more often than not, they felt distinctly eccentric. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's due in part to the more personal vibe they have. The developer's intentions and goals are clearly felt by the player. And Kingdom Come Deliverance is what happens when you take the dedication and love that an indie studio pours into their projects and give it a AAA title's budget. The game is primarily centered around being an RPG, one that's set on pulling you into its world and immersing you in it. Like most games in its genre, it boasts a magnitude of skills and proficiencies to build on, each of which is tied to a fully fleshed out mechanic in-game. Want to improve your combat proficiency? Go practice with a sparring partner, get into fights. And I get it. Starting out, the screen can overwhelm those of you who are unfamiliar with RPGs. I should know. But after a bit of time with the game, I realized you don't need to max out every bar. Just play the game as though you were in your character's shoes. Drink, gamble, brawl as you see fit, and your stats will follow. Your tale takes place in 1403 Bohemia, and the music and environment design work in tandem to make the world believable. I often felt like a character from a medieval period film, though you're less a famed knight and more a swashbuckling idiot for a good portion of the game. The story starts you off as Henry, happy-go-lucky son of a renowned blacksmith, and from the get-go, the game makes it abundantly clear he's no hero. Make no mistake, Henry is less a larger-than-life protagonist and more a bumbling oaf. Remember, amateur blacksmiths in 15th century Europe weren't known for their literacy, both at books and swords, and in the 3 hours that it dedicates to its prologue, the game makes sure you understand that. Getting into fights without being trained in combat is just asking to feel the edge of a sword with your face. You're not playing a big hero, you're playing Henry. Watching your diet, getting enough sleep, having your wounds treated and following orders are all part of the package here. And just so we're clear, overeating is well within the realm of possibilities if you've made a habit out of hogging cheese wheels. After getting acquainted with the neighboring keeps and passing out from a bandit ambush, you wake near the town of Frite, which is where your journey truly begins. Your clothing, cleanliness, and speech affect the way people perceive you and should always be kept in mind. And having blood on your gear while chatting up a lord doesn't exactly leave the best impression. You enlist as a squire under a knight. Alongside working your way up the ladder of respect, you can choose to curry favor with the locals and your higher-ups, which lets them entrust you with quests and duties, and even allows for more room and haggling.
If he thinks he can get it back, I won't turn it down.
My lord, he's a peasant. You can't make a squire of a peasant.
Why not? Someone made a priest of a pig.
But if speech isn't your thing, you could instead lockpick your way into the apothecary in the dead of the night, clean house, and make good with the profits undetected. Of course, the latter involves learning the owner's schedule and knowing when the shop isn't attended, as well as avoiding the eye of guards and night patrol. Which brings me to my next point, AI.
The bandits and humans have set up camp in Pribyslavitz. They're preparing for something.
Scatterbrained as it can sometimes be, the AI system was actually quite well done. Every human entity in the world, swordsmith, god, lord or otherwise, have their own personal routines and roles in the world. They have meal breaks, they open and close shop at specific times depending on the business they run. They stop at taverns for a round of drinks or a gamble, and chat with strangers. These are all things that happen with or without your presence. And it just adds so much to the believability of the world.
What's that about the wild hunt?
Oh, that's a dark matter. A cavalcade of ghostly riders appeared in the sky above Poland.
Your main job requires you to grow adept at combat. This doesn't mean you march in a forest looking for bandits, but instead spend a good half an hour sparring with a senior, with the weapon of your choice. You don't just get to specialize in every single weapon, that's not a necessity. You pick one you like, or what you think looks cool at the very least, and choose that as your prime weapon, with archery as a secondary specialization. A cool thing the game does is you could choose to use a one-handed weapon like a short sword in conjunction with a shield. And while the shield has superior defense, it kind of obscures your vision, which makes combat a bit of a pain in the ass, given you can't see a certain portion of your screen. And I thought, well, that seems like an odd design decision, why would they ever want to do that? And of course, it's because your alternative is to not use a shield, and that promotes being good at parrying. These are all things that would actually happen if you were put in Henry's position. Of course you can't see when you're holding up a sword in a position that allows you to block attacks. It's common sense. It's just so simple and it works. It's so good. A bit off script there, let's get back on pace, yeah? When you start off, you swing your weapon slowly and block even more clumsily. You can't hold a bow to save your life, and even need protective gear to prevent the string from snapping against your arm. Several hours later, however, I nearly aced an archery competition, and when I accidentally alerted a camp of humans that I was scouting out, I managed to mow down 16 of them before tactically retreating on horseback near death. And let me tell you, it felt fucking good. Like the best RPGs, the joy in Kingdom Come doesn't come from accomplishing your goals, but the adventures on the way there. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's hardly inaccurate. It's a systems-driven game, with key points being scripted, but much of the experience stems from interacting with the systems as they play off each other, and the scripted sections themselves can be quite amusing. With all the positives out of the way, I'd be disingenuous if I didn't mention the faults. And there are faults. The game commits the cardinal sin of being buggy as fuck. Or at least that's what the compendium of issues here tells me. In the 26 odd hours I've spent in the game so far, the only egregious bugs I encountered were mainly clipping issues, where I was prevented from walking upstairs. And I suppose the clipping around foliage can be considered part of this too. The developers obviously intended for entities to be unable to walk through thick bushes, but at times they act like death traps, especially when riding a horse. On several occasions, I've jumped over a fence or stream only to get lodged in the edge of a shrub, and it's an aggravating 10-second hassle getting out of it. The only other major issue I have is the optimization. For reference, I play on PC, and despite having an i7 and GTX 970, I needed to drop my settings to a low-medium mix to hit a stable 60 FPS at 1080p. Eventually, I ended up dropping the resolution to 900p and playing on a mix of high and very high settings, which averaged around 75 FPS in most areas and 55 FPS at the worst of times. The moment that prompted me to do this was a very specific quest: Nest of Vipers. It's the first large-scale battle I was a part of, and the moment the battle began, my frame rate just shat itself. Now sure, you can partly chalk the game's demanding nature to the fact that it's using quite resource-intensive tech from CryEngine 3.8 in an attempt to future-proof its visuals, much in the way the original Crysis did. But I feel like there's definitely work that can be done to improve performance.
Horse Hans! Let's make those smiles off your faces!
Oh, I'd like to see you try.
Technical niggles aside, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a fantastic game, and an incredible RPG. From the looks of it, I'm only a little over halfway through, given I'm attempting to complete every quest I can. It's a title that takes advantage of its nature as a game to provide player choice, and a satisfying learning experience for both its combat and the various subsystems it contains. It has a story that makes it clear you're just a bystander in a massive civil conflict. With so many large powers having their hands in it, there's very little you can do to influence it. It's filled with people telling you what you can and can't do, but seldom the means to do it. Orders, requests, relationships, and personal troubles are all a part of your daily routine. It's filled with a plethora of characters, some amusing and friendly, some genuine assholes who seem to have it out for you, and you just have to suck it up, deal with what you can handle, and accept the things you can't. Just like life. If you go into this game expecting an escapist wish fulfillment fantasy where the world revolves around you, the game will simply sit your ass down, slap you across the face, and say, level 20 out of 10.
What? What are you doing? Oh, no.
Oh.
But really?
Yes. Oh, come on, be brave.
No, I've never...
Hand on my hip.
I don't even know how.
And